So thank you so much for joining today's information session. I am Ria. I'm an assistant manager with CSIP, and I'll just quickly give you a run through of how we're going to run the next 45 minutes. So we will basically be beginning the session with our center director, Ginny Uppal, sharing her vision behind the initiative and why it matters for the Indian social sector and for the global social sector, in fact. After that, we'll have Krishanu Chakrabarti, our head of research. He'll take you through the nuts and bolts of the program and what participation for different stakeholders might look like. And finally, we'll close with a Q&A session that will be moderated by Rekha Rathore, who is our senior program manager. And yep, and so many of you have already shared your questions, and they've actually helped us shape the flow of today's session. If there's anything in the presentation that doesn't already touch upon the question that you've asked, please feel free to drop in the chat. We'll be trying our best to prioritize new queries so we can make most of our time together. And yeah, with that, I hand it over to you, Ginny. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ria. Hello, everybody. I can't see anybody. I'm assuming you all exist. I'm assuming nobody's hosting us here. So feel free to turn on your videos so we can have, it's going to become interactive soon. It's my pleasure to be here. My name is Ginny Uppal. I'm the director of the Center for Social Impact and Philanthropy here at Ashoka University. And I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about the genesis of the Case Center before we get down to the details Q&A. We've had a Case Center launch, and some of you may have had the opportunity to watch the launch or participate, but even if you did, it'll be worthwhile hearing again, why are we doing this before we get into what and how you can participate. So the Case Center, the genesis of the Case Center comes from a couple of observations and a conviction. I've had this conviction for quite a while that there are plenty of intervention models and strategies in the social sector in India, which are scalable, but they are not scaling. You hear often about there are lots of ideas, but they are not scaling. One of the reasons, of course, is funding. We're probably not funding for scale. But the other gap is capability, is what we believe. In the sense, there are lots of ideas that are good. We can learn from them, but we are not learning. A lot of social sector practitioners I meet tell me about how they had to reinvent the wheel. Now, we've had capacity building training organizations, especially in the last 10 years. There have been quite a few capacity building L&D organizations, learning and development, as well as academic institutions, many of which you are teaching in some of those, or maybe you are a researcher from some of those. However, pedagogy is not standardized. Every academic institution has their own way of teaching. So these are observations we made, plenty of intervention models that we can learn from. If we can find a pedagogical pathway that marries research and practice, then we can put this knowledge in the hands of practitioners who then can go and apply this knowledge. That was the point of Case Center. In all our combined experience at CSIP, as well as our advisory council and others who support us, our conclusion was simply this, that case studies, decision-focused teaching case studies, are the perfect marriage of academic rigor and practice that we should develop. Now, case studies by themselves are not new. These schools have been doing this, Harvard Business School has been doing this for 100+ years. However, it is not a simple copy and paste either. One is we should be able to write our own cases. Second, maybe it's not the exact same format that works in these schools that will work in social sector. For example, we don't want 30-page case studies. Nobody has the appetite for it. We want a digital component. It is very hard to tell the story of what's happening in a village in Jharkhand through text. We want Hindi translations. Not everybody's going to an English classroom. We want to put this knowledge in the hands of as many people as possible. Those are all the reasons, criteria, factors that influenced us then to launch a case center. And this case center itself has two parts. One is the knowledge production. What is a good, rigorous case? What does it look like? What does it take to create one? The second is, how do we get more people to write and teach these cases? And that is where this info session becomes important. We don't want to limit the ability to produce and teach cases to the staff of CSIP, because then there's only so many we will do. So we are really collaborating with the community to say, let's join hands. Let's learn how to write high quality cases together collaboratively between academics, capacity building organizations, trainers out there, nonprofits, funders, thereby creating a community of practice. A good amount of thought has gone into the case center model. The capacity building program that we are talking about today is the linchpin of it. That is where it all comes together. That's where academics, nonprofits, capacity building orgs, funders, we all come together. Professor Kasturi Rangan, some of you might have heard of him, of Harvard Business School. He pioneered the Harvard Business School executive program for nonprofit management decades ago, and he partnered with CSIP to bring that program here. He's been anchoring this as our faculty, and we have other faculty across the country in India to support us. We're very excited about this, and I wanted to start this conversation, but just by sharing just why are we doing this, the rationale. It is an inaugural program. It's pioneering. We're all holding hands and doing this together. So I myself am enjoying listening to the questions that many of you have been asking. I've met several folks who applied. And I'm also looking forward to hearing more of questions that you might have or how you are thinking about this. So I think this is going to be a fun session, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for being here. I do encourage you to turn on your videos. I think you're going to be here for a bit, but we'll open it up for Q&A. And with that, I give it over to Krishanu. Is that right? All yours, Krishanu.
Hi, thank you. So I have finally been free of the chain. So I was not being able to unmute myself for some reason. And if either I need permission to share the PPT, or if Ria or someone can share the PPT.
Yeah, sorry, Krishanu.
No worries. Can you go to the first page? Thank you.
Yes, of course.
So thanks to Ria and Ginny for setting the stage up. I would want to take the next 10 to 15 minutes to actually run all of you, and thank you for again joining in. I know it's the end of the week, it's middle of the day, but we will anyways have this recorded, so you can definitely share this along. So as you all know, and for whoever has actually joined the Case Center launch event, we did speak of the need of a case center. Today, my focus would be actually to more focus on why academics, especially early career academics, should be considering applying to this program, how the program is actually structured, and where does, for a particular case, what we are calling as capacity building organizations or L&D organizations come into play, and where does protagonist, who will be in the form of NGOs, they come into play. We have done quite a bit of background research and consultations with our anchor faculties to be able to get this to this level. So you will see there are intricacies to the details of the case center and the program, and let's go through this. I'm also very confident that a lot of the initial questions that folks who have signed up for this particular event might also be answered through this particular presentation and the next 15 minutes. So if it is done, then it's great. If not, then we are still happy to take questions after I finish. Ria, please go ahead. Yeah, thank you. So I'll just spend a minute on this, and this is to reiterate the need for the case center, as Ginny was mentioning. So we already know that in the broader private sector, and for all of you who had the opportunity to teach at say a B school for that matter, we all know that case-based pedagogy is right now a time-tested tool for emerging leaders to come in, learn decision-making concepts, connect their theoretical knowledge with something from the practical world, and then take their career forward, right? But unfortunately, in the social sector, which is equally complex, if not more, with like much more contextual challenges that regularly hinder decision making and put the pioneers of different organizations and leaders at a difficult place, there is really no opportunity for case-based pedagogy to be a part of leadership development, especially in the global south. Now, given the fact that decision-making cases have been proven and they're time-tested as a pedagogical approach, the bigger question comes in that why does capacity building courses right now, which can be of two types. So one is what you mostly see in long-term courses, which are MBA or professional course equivalent, and the other one are much shorter term courses, which is something that NGO leaders and social sector leaders actually go to. They are targeted a few days, a few weeks, or maybe almost a few months. And there we find at least like no mention of any case-based pedagogy. And we think that this is because of a few barriers, which you can see on the screen itself. So one is that we just don't have enough number of cases. So I think it is an imperative moral duty for us to the broader sector to actually write more. And we are definitely writing more, but we cannot alone write as many cases. And this case center initiative, through its capacity building program, also aims to create that library. Obviously, like accessing cases are really costly. I mean, if you get to a HBR or similar sort of a case repository, for every case there's a quite often hefty fee. These are long and sometimes very hard to understand that how do you standardize the training program. There is language barrier. And I think at the end of the day, the pedagogical approach has not really been appropriated nicely and moderated. So means that write cases on areas and sectors and on issues that really matter and are teachable. Second is we want to build sector-wide capability, what the reason for which we are congregating today. So one, we want to create an almost army of case writers and an army of case teachers who are able to take those cases that they write and the cases that are available into their own classrooms, be it in a regular postgraduate or a graduate course, or be it in smaller capacity building organizations, or even like NGOs for that matter. And finally, like with this, we are also hoping that this is the start of creating a community of practice who would be able to then cultivate a culture of using decision-based cases for capacity building and leadership development in the broader social sector. So with this, let me give you some idea about the program structure, right? So as you all know, and probably you've also seen the brochure, you've seen our website, you have heard from Ria, you have heard from Ginny. We are launching what I would call as a year-long unique program, which is both for case writing and for case teaching. And it is a little complicated as it would sound, it is, but let me demystify this for you. And I'm sure that Anna, after 5 minutes, you will say that, oh, this is like the most simplest program, but with a high impact potential. So if you think about the case center there and the program that we are talking about, the case center itself has two tracks, right? So we already have spoken about that. One is that the case center, you will see, we will periodically keep on producing cases on our own. Some cases, we ourselves are writers. Some we will collaborate with the best and the brightest and the and high caliber academics to do this. And then the other one is capacity building track. So today we want to talk about capacity building track. And I think that today we have a mixed audience. So the capacity building track is actually primarily targeted towards what we would call as early career academics who have preferably already in a teaching position in some universities, which have at least like one or more courses that are aligned to a certain extent to the broader social sector, or the particular academic himself or herself has a passion for this sector and wants to write and wants to integrate social sector case studies. And then the second is also facilitators from capacity building organizations. So these capacity building organizations are intermediaries where the senior leaders, the middle layer, and even like sometimes early career professionals go to learn leadership skills. And these are what I can like name a few. So the ILSs of the world, the Dasras of the world, and the Britspan of the world. So they are all offer structured but short-term programs for leadership development. So we are also going to teach the facilitators there on how to take a case and then effectively teach in their classroom. So these are our primary two types of audience for the teaching part. Obviously, this initiative will just not be successful without the participation of protagonists on which the cases would be written, and these are the NGOs. We'll talk more about what the role the NGOs or the social sector organizations might play on which these particular decision-focused cases will be written. So this is a wonderful schema to understand the program a little better. Rekha is laughing because she she is the one who makes the schema for all of us to understand, and I have the good fortune or the misfortune to tell you all about it. So, as I was just speaking to all of you, there are three kinds of stakeholders who should be interested in this program. The first two, the case authors and the case teachers, are what we are calling as the primary and the active stakeholders and the active constituent who we want to give the most amount of information at this point. So the case authors in this particular program are, as I mentioned before, early career academics. We are trying to get to the case authors. One, this is invite based, so a lot of people are nominating the folks, the early career academics in different institutions, and we are also opening this up for self-nomination. So you might have seen the form. If you have not, then you will get a follow-up email, and please look at the form. And once the nomination is done, either through self or sort of nominated by someone else, we want to select about 5 to 7 case authors for the program. And the program is supposed to run for almost 12 months, completely online. It's a sort of a program that has 2 to 3 modes of delivery. There would be certain anchor master classes for each of the modules, and there would be guided sessions by eminent academicians who have a lot of experience in case studies from premier B schools and other institutions. And once that mode starts, each of these modules are also structured in a way to give the case authors the opportunity to write a case as when they are also getting taught about how to write and how to teach the case. So again, let me demystify this a little bit. So when a case author gets into the program, starting from the end of like say December or like early January actually is more likely timeline for this. So in module 1, we will help the case author to actually help in setting up the case, and the pairing up will happen. And what is the pairing up that will happen? So we will help the case author to get paired up with a protagonist NGO, depending on the area of expertise and interest of that particular case author. That's the academic area of interest and the area of interest that we have already shortlisted, and what the NGOs can offer in terms of their expertise, experience, data, and other insights for a similar problem that they have either faced or solved or is currently facing. Now that pairing up will happen in module 1. Module 1 will also help all of us to learn how to structure the case study journey, how to refine the questions, and what is a good case study finally going to be, because the right questions will lead us onto this journey better. And that's like what we'll focus on module 1. Now, once this pairing is done, you can also see that there is like another constituent which we haven't touched as of yet, which is case teacher, and I'll come back to that. Now, in module 2 is like where the hands-on case writing will start. So the case author will also be, so we will also be providing every individual case author with a mini team, and the mini team will have someone who can provide writing assistance, someone will be able to provide research assistance in terms of an RA. Then there would also be some bit of support in terms of data gathering and other coordination that we'll be providing. It's almost like a research support service for that particular case. It's how think of a research program actually runs. And then the writing and the research will begin in somewhere between the third, fourth, fifth month of next calendar year. And as you as in the case authors are actually writing and researching the case, and then probably by Q3, Q2, you will have a nice draft. Then the module 3 is entirely around how to make that draft better, and at the same time trying to think that how that particular case is going to be taught. So how do you bring your teaching notes out? How will you going to structure your class? What are the theoretical concepts that you are going to deliver through those? And that is where those fine-tuning finally comes into play. And this is where, as you also can see, the case teacher, who are from the capacity building organizations, as we were talking about earlier, they also get into the program. So the way that they get into the program is that they are able to take those teaching notes, they're able to take those cases and modify them according to the program that they are going to teach, which is going to be separate from what the case authors are there. So because see, the case authors are most likely to, so we are most likely to select case authors from university centers and the B schools or schools that cater to a social sector audience through structured programs. So they already have a place to teach, and that is what we are also going to evaluate a potential case author on. But the case teacher is going to only be able to teach this in the organization and within a certain set of programs, and that differentiation will be there, and we'll help and teach, and our eminent faculties will be able to guide through that process. Now, once the module 3 is done, in module 4 we will do further teaching, including like peer-to-peer teaching, or even like teaching for the first time in your own courses that you have selected, similarly for the case teachers also. And the case will be now readied for final publication. What that will mean is that we will provide at least some sort of editorial support, some sort of publication support, what to target, how to fine tune the case, the final version, how to fine tune it for different types of audience in terms of teaching, and then finally at the end of that sort of 12-month period, we are hoping that one, the case would be ready for the case author to one, publish. Second, to take it back and teach it with the help of the teaching notes that have been refined, and the feedback that you have already got from your peers and other settings. Then for the case teachers, they are also able to take a version of the case and then teach it in their own institutes. And finally, the NGOs will also be able to actively participate throughout the process, provide the data, provide the insights, be an engaged respondent to both the case author and the case teacher, but primarily to the case author. And that is how the one module each of 3 months, roughly a 12-month program, comes into play. So that is how the program is demystified. I hope like that gives everyone a sense. So 12 months, one module every 3 months. It's a mix of master classes, one-on-one sessions, doubt clearing sessions, and a lot of work that case authors themselves need to put in with our support and our sort of like constant engagement, both in terms of your research support and editorial translation, some bit of publication support and advice that we'll be able to provide. Super. Now, I mean, if any question comes up, please put this in the comments. I really don't have access to this. So now, to just give some direction to who can be the potential or what can be the potential areas on which we will be able to write these cases. And these case areas, this is a long list. We are happy to discuss and sort of individually customize this so as to make the greatest impact, both in terms of the teachability of the case, but also on the topic on which the case is being written, because we really want it to go to the core of a particular decision-making problem that is far more common in the broader sector. So we have actually spoken with the sector leaders for about a year, and then did a research with L&D, the capacity building partners, which is actually out on their website. So you should be able to see this. And combining those two, you can see that this is the current long list of topics that we have shortlisted. So when we say topics, it doesn't mean that the case need to cover the topic in entirety, because think of these as research areas. So even if we are able to take a stab at a very small portion of the topic itself, so scaling, technology for social impact, governance and leadership, how do you drive systems change, and I do want to really clarify this point that our approach to a case writing is going to be completely interdisciplinary. So which means that you can put any hat and then attack the problem from that angle that you think is useful. Obviously, like the faculties of the program will be able to give you guidance and will also handhold you to a certain extent through this process. But all of these individual areas do have a unique vantage point that each disciplinary boundary can bring. So if you are, say, a management science expert, so yes, then you can bring in your organizational behavioral hat and then attack a problem. But if you're a sociologist, so very happy for you to bring that sociology hat and then still structure a case study around it. So the boundaries are essentially open as long as the goals of the programs are met. That is that we, at the end of the day, we really want each team, 5 to 7 teams in total, so 5 to 7 case authors, but the case teacher number would be more, to be able to come up with one fully complete case study with its teaching notes in entirety in one of these broad areas. If you are an academic and researcher, academician and researcher, and you have gone to this point with us on this particular call, what is that you need to do? So we invite you to be a part of our network. So at the end of the day, we are looking at all of you to become a case fellow, like a case writing fellow. And what that means that you have successfully been able to complete that 12-month program, get to a certain degree of academic rigor in terms of its output and the way that the pedagogy is getting created. So you write a case with us, but you also get trained how to teach. And then you become a part of the community, which we were speaking about earlier, which contributes to the effort of how the social sector learns and continues to change the way that the social sector learns through case-based pedagogy. So if you are interested and you want to be a part of this mission, please do apply. Now, if you're a capacity building organization right now, on the call, or you're seeing the recording, you want to be a part of the change that is happening in pedagogy through your courses and being a case teacher. So if you have a facilitator or a very experienced instructor in one of your courses, and any of the areas or any of the modes of case teaching is really resonates with you, so then please nominate someone from your organization who will be taught the pedagogy of case teaching in the context and that you are already teaching in, which is different from a very typically long run courses. And then you should be able to have that ability to take any course. And obviously, like, you will have access to all of the courses, all of the cases that is there. And finally, go and teach this in one or more courses that you offer. If you are a NGO or a social sector organization or any organization that has a social purpose, so we know that you are already a pioneer in leadership practice. It's just that we haven't documented that case well enough, or we haven't not learned for you. So in December, we are going to do a much more active reach out when there is some degree of clarity on what are the areas that are finally getting selected between the academicians and researchers and capacity building organizations coming together. And we would want you to be an active member of this whole journey. Share your experiences, share some data with us and the case teams so that they are able to create useful, impactful, teachable decision-making cases on your particular organization's journey across the topics that we have spoken about. So that is what we are offering. So thank you for staying with us till this point. I think my part till this point is over. I will handle this back to either Ria or Rekha, whoever wants to take up the mantle. And then thank you again for joining.
Thank you so much, Krishanu. So we're now opening the floor for any questions that you all might have, and Rekha will be moderating those. So yes, please feel free to, yes, I will just unmute you, sir.
So thank you, Ria. So if you have any questions, okay, I think Rakesh has some question, please. Yes.
So I'm already an associate professor of sociology, but I don't teach in a B school, right? I'm in one of the central government colleges in Chandigarh, but I have done a few case writing on my own for UNDP. Like I have done review of Haryana's government, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, and the POXO, which is on the UNDP website. But I have not been formally trained. So I'm a PhD in sociology from JNU. My master's, MPhil, and PhD is from JNU. And 6 students have already completed their PhD under me. And most of them have done work on social sector area, and 5 more new students have enrolled. So I'm an associate professor as of now. And though I don't teach in a B school, am I eligible to join? I want to learn, because I have another, say, 16, 17 years of job left. It's a kind of a saturation. So I would like to learn and contribute to something which is very exciting. Because we have, so.
It was that, I could not tell, was that Raghu speaking or?
Rakesh, Professor Rakesh.
Rakesh. So let me give you the philosophy. Whether this is a good program for you, I think you'll be able to decide. Our philosophy is, the basics of research. It sounds like, being a PhD, you know how research is done. So this program doesn't teach the basics of how to do research or why cases are important. This program will teach you how to write a case. The other thing we're looking for is a commitment to the social sector. The idea is once you learn how to write a case, you keep writing good cases. CSIP ultimately becomes a publishing channel. We're also building pathways with other publishing platforms such as Harvard Business Publishing. Our goal is simply the more of us that are committed to the social sector write cases, learn how to write high quality cases, more power to us. So that's our philosophy, and it sounds like where you're coming from. You're already deep in the sector, you already have a place to teach. The idea is it a place where you can teach the case? Otherwise, it'll become a paper to publish and you won't be able to, actually use that muscle. It sounds like you've done it before, you've got students. So that's how we are looking at it. We do have a steering committee to look at all the applications and make decisions. And they are looking. This is exactly the philosophy: commitment, some research skills. In the sense we want to make sure you pass this program, you're successful, and a place where the case can be taught. The other thing I want to just amplify, Krishanu mentioned this. We are also building a network of adoption channels. The reason capacity building orgs are here is because they open up even more classrooms where practitioners are coming. In universities, it's probably social sector aspirants, younger students, whereas at ILSs, ISDM, it's the mid to senior career practitioners who will also be taught these cases, which is why we have two different kinds of students. So everybody is taking the case out in the world, and that's how we are building the amplifier effect. So definitely want to encourage you, Rakesh, to apply for the reasons we just mentioned.
Okay, so meanwhile, if anyone have any questions, they can ask and put it on the chat. But for now, I would like to cover questions which many of people who have signed up asked us before this conversation. And I want to take it one by one, and I will just point it out if it's for Ginny and Krishanu. The first question is for Krishanu. Thank you so much for correctly explaining what's in for case author and case teacher for this program. Would like to know if I am a social organization, social sector organization, or an NGO, what's in for me, and if there is a selection criteria for this.
Yeah, no, thank you for the question. I think that this is super important. So thank you also for whoever has put it there. So as you all have now seen the complex interplay that there is across the three constituents of the program, right? And I would say that in my mind, the glue to make this program work is the social sector organization or the NGO on which not only but we will probably end up inducting about somewhere between 5 to 7 NGOs or SSOs. So we need those many NGOs or SSOs to be a part of this program. And the role that I envision for them and is this. So one, obviously, you are a site of information. Not only information, but you're also a site of knowledge. So I think I encourage interested NGOs and SSOs to think of themselves in that way. So there is a lot of tacit, implicit knowledge that other leaders can know about that lies in the daily operations, in the challenges that you have faced and have overcome, or even sort of failures for that matter. And this is an opportunity for the rest of the sector to be able to learn from those in a codified, teachable way. And unless and until you are able to host the case author and the case teacher in a way, we will never be able to get that information, right? So we definitely don't want the relationship to be what I would call as extractive. This is not the place. The place is that we come to the NGOs and the SSOs from a place of learning, from a place of the willingness to understand like what principles of leadership development we can learn from you, and that is like where you become important. That's one. I do think that the SSOs and NGOs have another role to play, and that is to if it is useful for them to also take these learnings from the cases, and especially the case that is being written on you, back to on your own capacity building initiative. And once you do that, you are also able to tell the rest of the organization that, okay, this is something that is worth learning, and not only confined to the classrooms from where the case author comes in, or from the programs from where the case teachers will come. So that is it. I think it doesn't need to be said, but I didn't want to make that the main reason like why NGOs or SSO should be interested in this. I think it is great to also get profiled, and it raises the the brand value and the knowledge that the sector has about that particular NGO or the SSO. But I would also caution by saying that the cases are not going to be always all rosy, right? They will get into the darker alleys and difficult times. So it's an honest conversation that every NGO and every SSO will have with itself, and there would be this public knowledge that they will contribute to. So it is of social purpose, and I think it's an exciting opportunity for all SSOs and NGOs to collaborate with us. I mean, from the time that we have actually announced the case center launch and also the program itself, a lot of NGOs have reached out to us, and we are right now talking to them, but not that we have made any final decision. So I encourage everyone to look at this presentation, look at the particular video, get a sense of what the cases have been. There are many cases that you can still see that are out there, that has been written on actually pretty big NGOs for that matter, and what does they tell us, and how you think you will be able to tell your story. And we are always happy to have this conversation. Thank you, Rick.
Great. Thank you, Prashanu. Ginny, I have one question for you. One of the candidates from Shiv Nadar University who have signed up for this session. She asked, what gap in the current social impact teaching landscape does this program specifically aim to address? I repeat, and I will put it in the chat itself. What gap? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, as I said, early on, what the case center addresses is the capability gap, the competency capability. There is no dearth of ideas and solutions, but the best ideas do die in execution because of the capability of the organization and the leaders to bring it to life, also at scale. Scale, of course, there are other reasons. There's funding also. But the capability gap is what we are addressing. Now, there are plenty of capacity building organizations that are doing training, but this is taking training to the next level. We are injecting pedagogy. Case studies, the only reference to B-School in this conversation happened because it has been proven in the world of private sector coming from B-Schools that case pedagogy is a very good fit, like I said, almost a perfect marriage between rigorous research and practice. There's lots of insights. One of the feedback we get a lot, CSIP produces insights, reports. How India Gives is a flagship report. The 3rd edition is coming out now. The difficulty with research reports is it is difficult for NGO practitioners to action that and translate into how am I going to do my job? How am I going to make decisions? Yeah. These cases and case studies also has a lot of connotation in the social sector. One-page personal narratives, people have described it as a case. This is a particular kind of case. It's a decision focused. It is a teaching case. It goes through the dilemmas of the person who's already walked the journey, who's gone through the challenges of figuring out what will it take for them to pull this strategy off. The rest of us are going to learn from them in a structured manner. So it is a structured journey between the protagonist. Prashanu talked about we are learning with the protagonist from their journey, and we are taking away what can be taught to other practitioners. Hence why it becomes extremely collaborative. The academic, we highly encourage the academic to not be too theoretical, to go out in the field, look at the reality, the ground reality of what's happening in the protagonist's life or the NGO's life. So this is, even though case methodology has been around for a while, we will create something that works for India's social sector. So it is really a capability gap that we are filling with this. Moreover, I must say that, of course, there are advantages to all of us. We build the muscle, we write cases, There's advantage to the social sector. More people are going out there armed with knowledge. There's an advantage at the level of India. There are many intervention models that simply don't get exposure beyond India because they don't get captured the right way. It's a handful of Harvard Business School professors who come to India, then write the case on an Indian social sector. We can write our own. And we should be able to take this knowledge and teach it to the rest of global South. There are so many similarities between India and, say, the sub-Saharan African subcontinent, South American subcontinent. So we're coming from a place of we want to harvest the stories, we want to fill the capability gap, and also share it with others who can learn from us.
Thank you, Tini. I think Krishanu already answers over the chat, but I have two more questions. One we have from Professor Benjamin. He's also here with us. The question is, he asks is, I am interested to work in the area of indigenous peoples and their caste studies on business and human rights. Will this course be able to help me? I'll put it on the chat. Krishanu, maybe you can answer this. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I think as so Prof, as you can see from probably the presentation as of now, that we are less concerned about boundaries at this point of time. So from the topic that you are right now mentioning, this can fit into many of the broader topics that we have just laid out, right? So is it like within the form of how, say, community organizations made for indigenous people need to be governed, and is there an angle to do there? I think what would be definitely useful is for you to apply and then put your idea in a much more, so you'll see in the application process there is a way to detail out your idea. And then when you detail out your idea and say that, okay, this is the type of NGO or SSO representation that I'm looking at, this is the problem that I'm looking at, this is the frame from which I'm going to investigate the problem. And if I investigate the problem and put a case out of there, then this is the type of courses in which this can be taught. And this probably also cuts across, say, 2 to 3 different areas that we have spoken about. Maybe it cuts across, how do you scale organizations that are run by indigenous people, or it scale organizations which are truly grassroots in nature, or maybe it can also cuts across the equity concerns or agriculture. I don't know. I'm just making these assumptions as of now. So really nothing to say that this won't work. Every application will be looked through by our selection committee, which has a wide variety of participants. And I mean, at least I am not there, so I can ensure that it's a fair process. And then it's on the merit of how powerful the idea is and how relevant it is for other organizations to learn from. How are you able to connect it with the current theoretical understanding, and how you will be able to take that case into a teaching format in a course that you might already be teaching, or in a course, say, for example, you want to teach. So those will determine the strength of that particular application. And then we'll select accordingly, right? So, from a ideal theoretical standpoint, yes, this can definitely work.
Great. Thank you, Prashanu. If anyone have any follow-up question, please feel free to put it on the chat. Knowing the time, I'm just gonna ask the last question, which came later, and it's a very basic question that people asking again and again. That's why I'm raising this question. And Ginny and Prashanu, anyone can answer this. It's about someone asked, would there be any? Do I need a prior experience in academic or case writing? And is there going to be support for the publication of the case written? I'll just put this over chat. I repeat, do I need prior experience in academic and case writing? And what support for the publication of the case written will look like?
Yeah. I can take this on. So I think that I don't think that anyone needs prior experience in case writing per se. But I think that definitely the reason for at least putting the bar as to have a doctorate degree is unfortunately to ensure that there is a base level of research exposure that every case author has who comes on the program. And the reason for this is that any disciplinary doctorate degree will give the basic idea of how do you create good research artifacts, irrespective of the methodology that you are focusing. So because you are at this point of time is both disciplinary and methodologically agnostic. So therefore, the doctorate for us is unfortunately so at this point of time is a signal that we have to pick up. So that's the base that we are looking for. Now, we believe that with rigorous training that you get through your academic exposure, the rest of how to write a case, like what a case is, and there are two parts to this, right? That every case author will have to have an understanding of the methodology, if you don't already have, on how to approach the case writing process. And then there needs to be some exposure to the pedagogy of it, which is that if you are writing a case, then how are you going to teach it in your classroom? Because it's a very unique pedagogical approach per se, and the decision making case, the ones that we want to write, also has a flavor to it. So those they are something that the program will be able to get to you from a hands-on approach, because you will be writing a case and also be teaching a case. So that is the answer to the first part of the question. And okay, no, second part of the question. The first part of the question is on the publication of the case written. Yes, definitely. So the reason, for the reason for why we think that publication is important is because publication is as getting a doctorate degree is unfortunately the signal to ensure that the research artifact is of high quality, right? And so we are not obviously not pressurizing anyone to publish within a certain boundary, but we think that the way that we have structured the program, by your module 4, which is somewhere between the 9th to 12th month, the draft of your case is going to be so good that it is publishable at that point of time. Which means that you are able to put it in a proper publication house, go through the process, because that will take some time, which may be beyond the program itself. But to get to that point, which means that there will be constant feedback. Someone will be able to read your draft. There will be some editorial support that we will do, but also we will get some feedback onto the draft itself, both from your peers and from the facilitators of the course, to able to get to a point where the case is actually of very high publishable quality and research quality itself. Yeah, so that's it.
Sorry, can you unmute
take
yourself?
a step further and say, publishing, you'll publish with CSIP once you get through the program. We will be working with other publications such as Harvard Business Publishing and others to publish cases coming out of CSIP. And even in the future, the idea is we're training you to build a certain kind of high quality case. And if 1 year, 2 years down the line, you decide to write a case on your own, we'll provide an editorial support function, peer review function, to make sure that you have support for future cases as well. This is a community of practice, like I mentioned. We all want to be connected with each other so we can find each other for future cases. And CSIP will provide the anchor support to make sure your cases get published on CSIP, and subsequently then exposure to the rest of the community members. Other capacity building orgs will be looking for cases 3 years down the line that you may decide to write. The authors or the academics or the PhDs will have copyright sharing. So if you wanted to submit a paper to another publication, you'd be very free to do so. And we are also incented. We are housed in the university. We're very incented to publish. So we're all going to do this together, and we have a joint incentive to make sure that we publish outputs coming out of the cases.
Okay, great. Thank you, Krishanu. Thank you, Ginny. I think I have covered all the questions so far, whether it's pre or during the session, of course. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at csip@ashoka.edu.in, definitely. I've also posted the link for our brochure and the application link. Ria, now over to you.
Thank you, Rekha. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining today's information session right in the middle of the day and for all of your questions.
I would love to get feedback on was this useful,
Yeah.
any final thoughts, questions. If we can let everybody unmute themselves, just tell us, was this useful? We're also learning from you. Every time we get asked a question, it makes us think. So we'd love your feedback on was this useful? Any other thoughts, questions? You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I've changed the setting as well.
Yeah, thank you. I think this was extremely relevant, and I truly enjoyed while sitting in my office and conducting an exam in the other room. My students are writing their master's paper as I speak to you. So it was good fun. I wish and I hope that I would be able to join the course and contribute to it, because I do believe that indigenous Indian writing and all the Eurocentric and the Occidental understanding of the East should stop. I think this is a great initiative, even for nation building, so we can have our own success stories, going all over the world rather than aping the West and their models. It's a great initiative. I truly appreciate it as an academic.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Rakesh. We resonate a lot with that thinking. This is about building our own muscle, knowing that we as in you and the protagonists are closest to what's really happening. And the way you can capture the story, which is also why the case teams will also be independent. CSIP isn't telling a case team, write this story or write.
Yeah.
We have thematic areas. This is one of the biggest gaps in the sector. We've written a case on fundraising, for example. It is being taught at ILSs and IMA. We did that with Professor Ankur Sareen. He was a co-author, and he doesn't need training. He's done it. It'll be taught in ILSs. It'll be taught in IMA at Ashoka University. The power of people closest to the ground writing the case is what we are going for, so that we don't have to bring people from outside the country to write cases. We should write our own cases, and we should learn from them. We've got enough successful intervention models, strategies that work, even failures. What can we learn from our failures? So we've got all the ingredients. Case Center is really bringing the ingredients together, and we'll cook this together. I tried a metaphor. I don't know if it worked.
I think it worked just fine, Ginny. Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, it is a wonderful opportunity, and I would like to congratulate the whole team that this is a great initiative that you all are taking to, build in capacity building for the writers, especially those who are interested in case writing. And of course, with this, the most important aspect is that you are getting the NGOs involved over here, and that too from the grassroots also. So this will actually help to bring out the the crux, what is happening at the grassroots, not only to the in the academic but also to the I think so at the policy level also. So hope so. I will get a lot of insights and definitely would like to join this course. So all the best to the whole team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and all the best to all of us. We're definitely doing this together. Awesome, and we're here to do one-on-ones. We're finding that very useful for us and for several folks who don't think either they're eligible or they don't know how this is going to help them, or scheduling. Somebody asked a question about time commitment. It is spread over a year. We'll do master classes. There'll be one-on-one opportunities for one-on-one meetings with experts, senior professors in India, as well as Professor Cash. So we are going to make it as easy as is possible. What we ask in return is commit to it. Stay the course. Stay till the end, write a case, teach it, and commit to this knowledge and write more cases in the future. That's the commitment we are looking for. And I think the team has some deadlines to apply. Is it November 30th or something? So do consider, even if you're doubting, I would say just put it in. We'll have a conversation. We are also learning from others on the input criteria. For example, we were very sure we wanted academics to be teaching in an institution, but now we are learning that there are PhDs who are teaching in maybe a capacity building organization. So again, the philosophy is, do you have the basics of research? Do you have a place to teach? So we are also revisiting exactly how we want to structure the cohort. What is the best mix of people across domains? The program is domain agnostic. It doesn't matter what NGO or what domain. What matters is the capability or the learning that we want or you want to get out of that particular NGO or domain, which is translatable to other domains. So fundraising is fundraising. Everybody cares for it. Leveraging technology, everybody should be thinking about it. So that is also the beauty. It's horizontal capabilities we want to develop. The domain doesn't matter. That depends on the academics. personal experience and passion area. All right, back to you, Ria.
No, I
And
think
Rekha?
both Rekha and you have covered everything I wanted to say. But yeah, I just want to reiterate two things. The application deadline is on November 30th for both case authors and case writers. And then the last thing I want to say is that if you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to support you as you think this entire thing through. And yeah, we hope to receive your application. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for joining.
Bye.
Bye.